Cutting trees and plants might look hard, but it's easy to do. You will know how in this video. My name is Naouri Redouane and you are tuned to photomanipulation.com. We are not your typical Photoshop channel. We specialize in photo manipulation, digital art and advanced Photoshop techniques. If that sounds like your kind of thing, be sure to like and subscribe as we put out new videos every weekday. It's free, easy and really supports the channel. Let's roll to the video. Enjoy. To cut a tree from its background is very easy. Some people find out it's very hard because it has this hard edges, and some people how people usually cut these trees, they zoom in and they start selecting every edge that's coming out from the tree, and that will take a lot of time. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use the select and mask. And the way to do that, I'm going to use the lasso tool. And if you didn't know already, you can use the lasso tool and the polygonal tool at the same time. And that's by clicking on any area. And as you can see now, I'm selecting with the lasso tool. But if I want the polygonal tool, I'm going to click and hold Alt. And then take your finger from the mouse button. And you will find out that you are working with the polygon, with the straight line. And if I click again, I'm working with the lasso tool again. So this is a very useful shortcut. It saved me a lot of time cutting these trees and houses and sometimes models. Sometimes I use it more than the pen tool. Yeah, it's very useful if you have a nice hand, if you know how to work with the mouse. So I'm going to select this tree right here, and then just by clicking on the lasso tool, and then with the polygonal tool, I'm going to select the edges. I don't have to be very specific, just select the edges, just like that. And when you are finished, click on select and mask. And here is a very good way to work with these settings. What I do, and it's a very enjoyable let's say tip, it's good for making you feel that you are working in a quicker way, and that is click on the shift and hold it, and using the arrow keys up and down. If I add, you will realize that it's adding by 10 values, not 1. The way I like to do it, because if you start to add by 1 value at the time, you will get, it will take a lot of time to notice that there is some changes in the tree edges. So if you click shift and you add with the arrow keys, you will start to add by 10 points. And look at the preview here till you get a nice edges. In my case, I got a good result with the value of 30%. So then let's click on the contrast, and again click and hold the shift, and let's start adding by 10 points. And then let's go to smooth, and let's do the same. And with the shift edges, let's start to increasing or decreasing. I want to get rid of this black points on the tree, so I'm going to increase it, yeah, till these black points are gone. Let's click OK, and then let's go back to the select and mask, and let's start to add the radius again. And then let's add the contrast again, and that's just to get a harder edges, because in the last one we got smooth ones. And we did the first one just to get rid of the black points, so now we don't have to worry about them. And then click OK. And now if you mask it out, you will get nice edges here, but in these areas I wanted the edges to be more soft and to go into the tree model. So I'm going to select these areas right here, and then these areas right here. And let's go back to the select and mask, and this time let's add a lot of radius. Yeah, this is good. And then let's add contrast. and then click OK, and make sure the black color is on the other side, and click on remove, and you will remove it. And this is how I usually cut my trees from a messy background. Let's say that this tree is in a forest or something. So yeah, if you add here a black background, you will find out that is not the best selection of a tree. But if you add this tree to a scene that you are working on, let's say I'm working on this forest background, and I added this tree, no one will realize the selection. So yeah, it will be blended with the rest of the trees and the background. This is a very quick way. Now I'm going to show you how to select these furnaces, the plants and the trees like that. Let's move on to the next ones. So let's start with this tree picture right here. I use that for my fantasy forest artwork, and the way I cut this tree is by going to select, but first I'm going to make a duplicate layer from this tree, and I'm going to select and then click on the color range, and make sure the select option is on sampled colors. And what you want to do is select this icon right here, or just click shift on your keyboard, and you will realize that there is a plus sign on the icon, and if you press alt you will see there is a minus icon. So what you want to brighten up, just use the shift, which is the plus sign, the plus icon, and if you want to darken an area, just click on the alt, just like that, as you can see. So I'm going to brighten up the background, so I'm going to click on every point on the background, and then I'm going to select these points right here to darken it up, going back to the background. And this is how it works. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to click on make a mask from a selection, then click and hold alt and click on the mask, and you will be inside that mask. And then what you want to do here is just clean these areas inside the trees by painting on it with a black brush. I'm not going to go on every single point and clean it. Just click on Ctrl L and just move that, drop this point to the right side and this to the left side. This will do a more specific cleaning up in some areas, and then click Ctrl I to invert it. And let's add a black background to see what we cut it. So yeah, and to cut this part, just use the select and mask as we covered in the first couple 5 minutes of the video. Let's go to the mask, and then let's select and mask and click on the radius and hold shift, and let's start moving this radius up till we get a nice edges, and then let's move it with the shift and the arrow keys up. Let's do the same with the contrast till we get rid of this messy out lines, and then with the shift edge let's make it -20 just for the sharper edges. Let's make it more contrasty, and let's go back and with the shift and F5 select black, and let's click OK, and let's delete this with, make sure the black color is on the other side, because if it's not and you select this area and you click remove, you will add, it's like you are painting with the white color, so make sure the black color is on the other side. and when you do and you click remove, you will remove it from the mask. So yeah, for this tree in the other side, I didn't really cut it in my fantasy forest. I just put that tree on the edge of the artwork, so this tree is not visible anymore. If you have the time, you can just go and select every point that this tree is shown, and then select and mask, add the radius, click OK, and delete it from the mask. Just if you have the time. If you don't, you don't have to. Just make sure to hide it in your artwork. So now let's move to the other image. Okay, so we have this fern plant, and as you can see, it's almost impossible to cut. And I gotta say, there is no way you can cut these plants in a very perfect way, even if you have all the time and you start to use the pen tool for every single edge for this plant, or even if you have a graphic tablet, it will not work, believe me. But so the way to get a close-up or a nearly perfect results is like the upcoming. You will cut in a way that no one will notice that you cut it in your artwork, just like how the concept artists do it. Start selecting the edges and try not to go out of the specific plant that you want to cut off from the image. So as you can see, I just selected the furnace. I'm going to feather this selection by, let's leave it at 20, and let's go to the select and mask. Now we are going to use the select and mask multiple times. So with the shift and the radius with the arrow keys, hold the shift and start adding the value. Let's add a little bit of contrast and then click OK. And now we are going to select and mask again, and let's add the radius with the shift and the arrow keys. Let's add contrast. And now what I'm going to do is going to select and modify, and then let's select contract, and let's select, let's say maybe 10 pixels, and then let's go back to the select and mask. Let's select radius and do this again, and then let's add more contrast and mask it out, and you can add it to your artwork. I know it's not the perfect way to do it. You can use the select and mask more times to get more solid edges and more accurate, more detailed edges. Let's use the smooth, and in this layer you will see that this object is messy and it's not very perfect. But believe me, when you add it to your artwork, no one will notice, because let's say you add it to a forest, you are working on a forest scene, and you add this, it will be blended with the rest of the plants and trees. Also, it's better than just cutting it in straight lines. It's better than nothing. So yeah, this is how you cut messy plants in a messy background where there is no white background or clean background. You can always go and fix it if you have the time. Let's go to the mask and make sure the black is on the other side, and click on remove, just to remove these areas right here that's outside of our plant. I guarantee you, when you add this plant to your artwork, you don't have to worry about that. It will not show at all. So yeah, let's move to the next one. As you can see now, I'm having this picture of a model, and it's a clean background, so you can just use the pen tool. But if you go back to my Viking murderer in my first artwork on this channel, I used the select and mask to cut it, and A lot of people ask me how you did this very quickly, and the way is simple. Just choose the magic wand tool with the value of maybe around 50, and let's select the background just like that. It will never be perfect. You will always have to go back and fix some areas. Sometimes it works better than the pen tool. So yeah, now we select our model, go to select and mask, and again click shift and hold it, and with the arrow keys up till we get nice edges. As you can see, the swords start to vanish, but we got nice edges on the hair. And if you zoomed in on his legs, you will see that there is some whites getting into his body. So with this contrast and shift, just start to add it, and you will realize that we are fixing it. But I'm not going to fix it a lot because I like the hair. And yeah, the only problem here is the sword. I'm going back to it. Let's click Ctrl I to invert the selection, and just select the burn tool and maybe the dodge tool, and start adding the sword again. Make sure to not go outside the sword so we don't mess the background. We just did. So let's use the polygonal tool with the lasso tool. Yeah, take your time. And we just did it, and remove it from the selection. And let's get back these details on the sword. And let's add them back, and I'm going back here, but now I'm going to use the brush because these areas are so hard to do with the polygonal tool. And just to make sure that you didn't get this messy white color or the black spots on your model, just click on Ctrl L and move the black dark points slide to the right and the highlights to the left, so we don't have to face this problem again. And as you can see, we did good job with the curtain. Just a little bit white edges here, and to fix that, make sure to go to the model and select everything but the hair, and then let's go to blur and click on blur, and then let's go back and blur more. And then while this selection is still active, click on Ctrl L and move the dark areas slide to the left side, and as you can see, the white spots outside the model is getting vanished. And we did it. No more white spots. You can always go back to the hair and remove these annoying white spots by select and mask, and again hold shift and start moving your arrow keys with the contrast. And let's with the black color, yeah, and you can paint the hair again. Let's go to the upper areas of his head and blur more, and with the Ctrl L let's remove it. And yeah, this is a perfect selection once you get it in the scene and you start to paint the hair again and all of that. So let's move on to the next one. Here we have this messy these trees in the messy background. It's not very messy, you can see here it's white clean background, but here you have these trees, and to get rid of them, just go to the channels, and try to find a channel with the higher contrast between these trees and the background, And most of the time you will find that the blue channel is the channel with the higher contrast between the objects and the background. Sometimes it's trees or mountains or a landscape. So yeah, it's most of the time the blue channel. So let's click on control till you see that square in your mouse icon. Then click on the blue channel and it will select it for you. So let's go and click on the make selection from make a new channel from selection. Photoshop will create this alpha 1 channel for you, so click on it and make sure you are not clicking on the blue channel, because if you are and you start to mess with it, with the highlights of it, you will find out that you are messing with the colors of the original image. So always make sure you are on the alpha channel. And while you are on the alpha channel, click on Ctrl L, and then you will find that there is 2 eye drops on the levels. One is to darken the areas and the other is to highlight the areas. I'm going to click on this icon right here to make these trees brighter, and I'm going to select the other icon and I'm going to click on the trees to make it darker, and zoom in and click on brighter areas on the trees. And as you can see, it starts to hide in this background for us, and it did a very good job. So make sure to go back and fix the areas like this, because as I said before, there is no perfect way to cut these trees with one click. Very quick, so it's not boring to the viewer. So now let's click on Ctrl I to invert the selection, and then let's select it and let's go back to RBG and then layers. Click 2 times on the background just to rasterize it. You don't always have to do that. It's just in my case it was not. So let's go and to select and mask, and let's add the radius with the shift and the arrow keys to make the selection better. Let's add contrast to it. Try not to add a lot of contrast because we don't want these branches to vanish. Let's take down the radius just a little bit, and yeah, let's click OK, and we have a selection of our trees. Again, if you add the black background, you will have these trees messed up. So select the brush with a white color and start painting these trees back just like that. It's very quick, you don't have to worry. And if you if you find out that you got out from the trees, just click on X and paint these areas again. It's very quick, it will not take a lot of your time, and it's worth it if you want your artwork to be more specific. And yeah, this is it for this tree. So yeah guys, this was a more detailed breakdown of how I cut messy objects for my artworks. I hope you learned something from this. And remember guys, my course will be ready within 2 months. You will find out how I make artworks like this. And this tutorial was just to get rid of the introduction. So now if you know how to cut the objects, I don't have to go back and explain these things on the course. So I just want to get this out of the way. I will still show you how I cut most of my objects that is not trees or models. I will show you how to cut the landscape, even though you can already get the idea of how I do that just by the color channels and all of that. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. It will really support us and encourage us to make more videos. So yeah guys, I will see you in the next episodes and the next tutorials. Bye.